For over 70 years, CHCH has been bringing you the latest news from Hamilton, Halton, and Niagara. And a lot has happened over those 70 years, particularly in the field of news and how it's covered. I was excited to host a media panel that featured some of your favorite CHCH faces. They were joined by some of our newest team members. Now, join us as we reach across the years for this insightful and enjoyable discussion. Our 70th anniversary celebration continues, and what a 70 years. You know, when we first started, you would have been watching us on a big black and white console television. Today, now, you can watch us on your phone or any other small device. So technology has really changed, but so has the news business. It's changed a lot as well. So we figured this is a perfect time to get together some of the people who have been there and some of the people who are still here, bringing you the news each and every day. So let's start with some legacy panel members. He was our senior news anchor here at CHCH from 1980 to 2008. He joined the station back in 1971. We welcome Dan McLean. Nice to have you here, Dan.
It's good to be here, Brian.
She became our first female news anchor. She started here at CHCH in 1976 and was here until 2008. We welcome Connie Smith.
Hi,
Hey,
Brian.
Connie. He was our feature entertainment reporter here from 1989 to 2015. Often seen accompanied by a big box of popcorn and a beautiful ascot, which he has on today for us. We welcome, of course, Alex Reynolds. Alex, great to have you back. Our next legacy panel member joined back in 1986 and is currently the co-host of CHCH Morning Live, Annette Hom. He's a face that pops up from Toronto every now and then. Currently our Queen's Park producer. We welcome Randy Rath, who was here from 1981. Randy, good to see you. Another on-air legacy member, such an important part of our presentation here because, well, she's behind the scenes. You don't see her all the time, but she's a director, and we always salute when we talk about directors. She's been here since 2006, and she directs our 6 and 11 newscasts, Chantel Grillo.
Hello.
Chantel.
Hi, Brian.
And, of course, you see him every weekday evening at 6 o'clock covering everything sports. Behind the sports desk. He's been here since 2006. We welcome Bubba Clint O'Neill. Bubba, good to have you here with us. He's another face you don't regularly see here on CHCH television, but he's a daily member of our newsroom. He's joined us back in 1981, and from what I understand, spent 25 years in videotape. How you do that, he'll explain to us. Camera editor now, Dwayne Worth. Dwayne, good to have you here with us.
Thanks, Brian.
We'll shift to more of our current news team that has joined us in the past number of years, reporters who have been here for a while. Nicole joined us in 2013. She started as a morning live reporter, and now she hosts a new show called Trending Now at 7 o'clock here on CHCH. Nicole Martin. Nicole. Another member of our current news team, she joined us back in 2020, so been here 4 years now, and is a video journalist and anchor of some of our newscasts here, Manisa Dhanavalan.
Thank you, Brian. Hi.
He joined us back at CHCH in 2021 and is currently what we call a video journalist, which he will explain to us later on. Eric Viano.
Hi, Brian.
Eric, good to have you here. And she also started here on CHCH. It's 2019. Overnight reporter, I remember that for us at CHCH Morning Live, and now has transitioned into a video journalist and also anchor, Emily Taylor.
Hi, Brian.
And our final current team member joined us just last year, as a matter of fact. She is currently our overnight reporter for CHCH Morning Live, Simone Gavros.
Hi, Brian.
Good to have you all here. Thank you for joining us here today. We've got so many topics we want to get to today. I mentioned technology right off the start, and we'll talk about technology, but what I want to do to get into this is I want to know, and we'll start with our legacy members, how your day played out when you came in. Now, you had stories to do, you had a deadline to meet, you had these if not one story, but multiple stories to get to air. So I want to know how your day played out when you came in. And Dan, maybe we can start with you.
I'll start it off. Back when I started, It was telephones and typewriters and little else. We were all jammed in a house. The whole newsroom was a house. Connie was there as well as me a little later on. But yeah, there was the film editing was done there, and it was film, not video. And we had a couple of strange characters who did that for us, but it was a remarkable process. And then we'd stack it all together in a big pile, and the director at the time would carry it over to the old house, which is where our studio was, which was a matchbox with 3 cameras in it and way too many lights. And then everybody would jam all of that stuff together with the film chains and the slide chains and all the other stuff, chains of any sort. And there you have it. You had a newscast. But in the winter, it was even worse because you had snow and ice and mud and plows and cars and all that nonsense to getting the newscast over to the studio, which was a block away. Well, we didn't have teleprompters in those days. They had, well, we had a machine with a big roll of paper on it, and you'd wind it, but it would always rip and tear and fall apart. It never worked really well, so you had to rely a lot on your memory of what you pre-read before you got on the air to get through it. But we lost a few newscasts on that trip over, but not too many. We managed to make most of them somehow.
Connie, you joined us a few years after Dan. What was it like for you when you would come in and get your day going?
Well, I was a general assignment reporter to begin with, and we'd come into the old house and sit around this lovely big table, and Dick Gray, our news director at the time, had his big book, and he would write down all the assignments for the day, and we'd discuss story ideas. We had a newsroom secretary who brought us coffee. Sorry to say that, but it's true. That didn't last too long. We would talk about it around the table. We'd go out with a camera, and it was always men. It was always cameramen at the time. Sorry, ladies, but it was. Shoot your story on film, as Dan said. I'd been working just with black and white film up at CKVR in Barrie, so coming to color film was really exciting. And you'd get in, if you got your story done, and you got back by noon or 1, it would go in the processor in the back room, and that would take a good hour to get through the processor. You'd cross your fingers that it didn't have any flaws in it or what we called railway tracks going through it, and then your story would be gone. So you'd go and have a little lunch, come back, your film would be out of the processor. You'd sit down with an editor and one of these things, cut the story together. I'd go up to the 3rd floor to record my voiceovers on a cart. And then, as Dan said, everything would come together. You type everything on a typewriter with 4 carbon copies.
The viz list, yeah.
And 5 copies for each script. For the director, the audio, telecine, the anchor, and then 1 for the file. And you would hope everything got to air, and sometimes they wouldn't roll the B-roll at the right time because you'd have 2 chains. B-roll would be running to cover edits. So when you'd get home and you'd see it went on air, yes, it worked. So those were my days as a reporter, and then when video came into being, I worked the first video shoot with Tony Fairchild, a longtime cameraman, and I said, Tony, this is never gonna last. I like my film. Guess what? It lasted, and the video cameras went from that big to this big to this big, from 3/4 inch, 2 inch, 1 inch, and then we ended up on little carts.
And now we push a button.
That's it.
Our 70th anniversary media panel will continue right after this.
The world's most smartest detective returns.
Did you not get the invite?
I got your invite, and I wiped my butt with it.
I sent it in an email.
Which is why I need a new laptop.
John Hamm as Detective Marvin Plute in
Grimsburg.
tonight at 8:30.
My Top Drawer. Our selection of bathing suits will wow you. We've got sizes and styles for everyone.
Our friend had a destination wedding last winter.
And the entire wedding party found their bathing suits here at My Top Drawer.
Bathing suits or bras? Hands down, it's my top drawer.
When I'm on vacation, I want to look great by the pool.
And I promise you, she does.
We always shop at My Top Drawer.
Come to My Top Drawer. See what thousands of women are talking about.
Introducing Rogers Xfinity with internet that handles it all.
Awesome. I'll be right back.
Built for more devices.
Okay. What if I crash through the window?
That's genius. Let's do that.
Excellent.
Let the art come from within.
From within. So Keanu can do everything.
You're so done, bro.
Well, almost everything.
Why don't you stick to acting, Uncle Keanu?
Let's go.
Rogers Xfinity is here on Canada's most reliable internet.
Tap into slots with over 1,000 games and new ones added daily. Tap into slots. Tap into Botano. Botano, the game starts now.
So, want fries with that?
Fries? Sure.
Not fries.
Prize! A new game from McDonald's with tons of cash prize and millions of food and rewards prize too. Just peel and play in the McD's app for your chance to win.
We're traveling all across Canada to talk to people about their hearts. Who wants to talk about their heart? Let me ask you a question. Do you have AFib?
I don't know.
Kind of hesitated, like, how do you know?
I don't know.
You don't know. Let me show you something. Okay. This is called Cardia Mobile.
Okay.
Do you know what this is? No. That right there is a personal EKG device. Would you like to take 30 seconds and do an EKG?
Absolutely.
With Cardia Mobile, you can take an EKG in just 30 seconds from anywhere. Cardia Mobile is proven to detect atrial fibrillation, one of the leading causes of stroke. Cardia Mobile can also detect normal sinus rhythm.
How much do you think this costs?
Probably in the hundreds.
$99.
Oh, wow.
That could be cheaper than a tank of gas.
Taking an EKG anytime, anywhere has never been easier. Don't wait. Get Cardia Mobile for you or a loved one today for just $99 at cardiamobile.ca or Amazon.
When my hearing changed, Hearing Life understood. I don't just want to keep hearing the music. I want to keep being me.
Book a free hearing test with one of our hearing professionals and see how our personalized care can help you keep being you. Love your ears at Hearing Life.
Alex, when you started here, what was your day like when you were figuring out entertainments? Because there are so many entertainment stories to cover. I mean, you've covered them internationally and, of course, locally. Very important.
My angel here. I've always considered Connie my angel because the first on-air, on-camera situation for me was when the announcement was made that I was joining to do entertainment. And I had no concept, I had no interest in television because I had a radio background, which I enjoyed. And so I had no idea what to do. She interviewed me on them, was it noon and 6?
The news at noon,
you know,
I think, that went on at 6.
and making the announcement. And I was petrified. And she calmed me down, and I've always regarded Connie as my angel in that regard. And to this day, I'm still a little very nervous in front of a camera. But
one day.
You learn.
One day.
You won't get over that, huh?
But the daily, for me, was hectic.
Yeah.
I'd get up early in the morning and get ready and probably go to a screening, a 9 o'clock screening in Toronto, go back in the evening for the opening of a play or something. And I'd get home at 2 or 3 in the morning, get back up at 4 o'clock. It was hectic, but loved it.
But you loved it. Absolutely
yeah.
loved it.
From Dundas, Alex Reynolds, Newsroom 11.
And then I want to flip to you and talk about your day, because I know how early your day starts now that you're the
Starts
co-host.
now?
Yeah.
Do you want my day now, or do you want my day when I first started?
What do you go ahead? When you
So when I first started, I
Yes.
was still in school. I was still at Mohawk, and I
Yes.
was what's known as the satellite monitor.
Okay, explain that.
Okay, so satellites would come in. Right now, we get news feeds in from all over just by a click of the button on our computers, right? Well, we were part of an independent satellite news, and we used to get stories in from reporters in Ottawa and in Atlantic Canada and all over in the prairies. And they would come in at a certain time of the day in the afternoon on a satellite, and they came over once. So if you didn't get it, so I would go up to VTR and have the dishes swung, and then I would run downstairs and record them, and if I didn't record them, that meant we didn't get that story in. And I would record them, and then I would watch them very carefully to get the in points and the out points and how long the story was, and then I would give it to our writer, and I would write the throws to them. This is what this story is about. So that I did that for I think about a year and a half, and I used to work weekends as well, writing.
Your first day in that?
Yes, I do
was on
remember
with
my
you.
very first day.
Yeah.
I was like so scared. I'm like, and then I went home and I'm like, oh, I wrote that. So
Yay,
cool.
good feeling.
Now
Yeah.
my days start at 2:30 in the morning. So that's when my alarm gets up, turns on for a 3:30 arrival here at work, and I'm here with Tim Bolin and our overnight producer, and we just get in that hamster wheel and go until 6 o'clock. For morning live. So it's just, we don't even really get a chance to talk to each other. And it's so funny because I'm seeing feeds now that, I can watch a feed any time of the day, just click of the mouse kind of thing.
And it's not like you show up in a limousine at 5 to 6 or hand it to
No,
and you
no.
get in and then you go home at 9 o'clock. I mean, you're here producing part of the show as well, lining up guests, and then afterwards.
Yes, after the show, yeah.
And after the show, you're also producing for the next day.
Yeah.
So it's a long day for you.
It
Starting
is,
very
but it's
early in the
such a
morning.
great day.
It is a great day.
It is.
And I know you love it because we work together and it's like
Yeah.
the smile is there each and every
As
day.
Alex says, it's the camaraderie.
Yeah, exactly. Randy, I want to go through your day because you're based in Toronto, Queen's Park, and I get emails from you like at 6 o'clock in the morning, saying to the newsroom, saying this is what you planned out. So your day doesn't start later. You're up going right early in the morning.
Now I essentially work the hours that I need to be worked. Like if I have to work for a couple hours on a Saturday, I'll just do it, and it works out in the end. I'll take Friday afternoon off or that kind of thing to do it, and a lot of what I do now is planning stuff, planning stories, seeing what's going to happen, looking down the road, talking to sources. It's a pretty complex job, but back in the day when I started, I was shooting. I was a shooter, and
A camera.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Anyhow, some of the industry terms are weird. So anyhow, for 3 years before anybody here got videotape equipment, I had it. So that meant that the demands on me were tremendous.
Yeah.
Because you can shoot a lot more. You could only shoot 7 minutes with a film camera before you had to change the reel. It was a huge problem. I would shoot 3, 4, 5 stories a day. I was running from the first thing in the morning until the day ended. And we had to send stuff back here. And it wasn't just the one newscast. There was a noon newscast. There was a 6 o'clock. There was 11. Once they got videotape here, it sort of eased it off on me because there would be something that we needed that we knew we didn't have time to process the film. So I'd go shoot it, and then I'd whip back and feed the tape to you. So it was very, very hectic. And the gear weighed a lot. I carried 70 pounds of stuff around with me.
Wow. Yeah.
Every time
Randy. I still do.
Yeah, Wayne does. Now, you're not just sending back film. You're actually sitting in on meetings and presentations at Queen's Park as well.
Oh, yeah.
As a reporter.
We cover stuff, like whenever there's a press conference, I'll go to it and we cover it. And it's just gotten a lot more automated in that it used to be you had to physically go to things. Now you don't. Everything's live streamed in 4K. So a lot of the gear has changed, like tremendously.
Yeah.
And a lot of demands on you. I don't think it's less demand, but it's different. You have to watch everything or you'll miss something very important. So I spend a lot of my time staring at screens.
Chantal, I want to talk to you about what you do each and every day, being a director of a major newscast. A lot of people don't know exactly what a director does each and every day besides sit there and tell people what to do.
I tell them all what to do, right? Yeah. You see them sometimes with their earpiece or sometimes they move their earpiece. That's me in their ear. I'm telling them when to talk, when to stop talking, how much time's left in commercial breaks, stuff like that.
You're even planning out individual shots with the cameras to make sure it all melds together.
Well, it's definitely changed now, right? Before I would tell the cameraman or woman to give me the shot. Now I control that camera with a joystick.
So that gives you more work to do.
More work, more control over the show, I guess. Yeah. But back when I started in 2006, I was a production assistant and like an entry-level job. Great to be a production assistant before you want to become a director. It gives you that, sense of how the control room works and how the news works.
Yes.
We were on tape at the time when I came in. The editors would put the reporter stories or the stories of the day on the tape. We had a little cart, and the tapes went on the cart. And as a production assistant, I would go over to the cart and the tapes would be labeled, you know, like 1,340. That's the tape, and then there'd be all the stories would be on there. So you'd write that information down. You go back to your computer and you put that tape number in and the story in. So if you ever wanted to find it later, you could in our library of thousands and thousands of tapes. And then when you were ready and it was close to 6 o'clock or 6 p.m. or 6 a.m., depending what show you're on, or the noon, you wheel that card up to VTR where Dwayne was, and then it would be in order of the stories of the day, how the producer wanted the stories to run for that newscast, and you try and put them in order, and then you wheel that card up, and then you go into the control room, and like I said, I was a production assistant, which sat beside the director at the time. And I would just time the show. I would time commercial breaks, the stories, have the length of the stories, getting in and out of the show. A lot of that actually hasn't changed too much. I mean, the tapes are different. I mean, we're all digital now. Everything's just on your computer to find. The timing of the shows are, you know, they're exact. You go in right at 6 o'clock. You finish right at, I think we're at 59, 50 or something like, you know, the exact time to get out, and then you have your commercial breaks in between. And I gradually moved over to a director, and that role obviously has changed too, because the industry in general has just changed and adapted, and you need to like keep up with the times. So I'm a director / switcher now. So not only like before I would tell the switcher what cameras I wanted, what stories we want to go to. Now I just do that all myself.
So it's become more automated, but it's also given you a little bit more work to do as well.
Yeah, a little bit more hands-on, a little bit more control of the show and what I want.
Brian, she's telling us that she's a big deal.
She is a big deal.
She is a big deal. That's why I said we always salute when we talk about the director.
The other thing, Brian, is when you retire and you got out of the business for 8 years, you still hear the director in your ear. It's bizarre.
You can't get away from it.
Can't get away from it.
You cannot get away from that. You know, one of the things that hasn't changed over the years is commercial breaks. We're going to take one right now, and we'll come back with our 70th anniversary media panel. Stay with us.
The cold case unit leaves no victim forgotten.
Never found her killer.
Never say never.
Cold Case, Tuesdays at 8 on CHCH.
Bet you can't pick just one. Forever.
I don't know why I did the things I did. If I could turn back, you walked out that door, I swore I didn't care. I lost everything, darling, then and if I could turn back time.
Gotcha.
Turn back time.
Lotto Max has draws on Tuesdays and Fridays. What are your dreams?
I've always wanted to start my own coffee company.
Grown on the side of our own mountain.
With our faces on it.
Get your Lotto Max tickets today.
Leon's No Money Miracle event is on now. Pay no money down with no monthly payments and 0% interest until 2027. Plus, save up to 50% on select furniture and save up to 40% on select mattresses. On now. Visit leons.ca for details.
Olympic organic yogurt is a delicious choice crafted with care. We only use organic milk from grass-fed cows with no GMOs. We love cows as much as Maya. See? Hang in there, little guy. Olympic organic yogurt, crafted with care.
Do you want to hear something nuts? Yesterday, I sprained my wrist opening a jar of pickles. Oh, come on, that's nothing. I sneezed too hard and threw my back out. I'm on so many meds. I need a pill organizer. This is a pill organizer. I've been exiled to the couch till I get a CPAP machine.
I'm at the dentist so often, I have my own parking space.
Well, my therapist said my dreams should be a podcast.
Well, I usually have to use the washroom every 90 minutes, but now it's every 60 minutes. Excuse me.
When you gotta go, Jimmy.
Aging doesn't have to be rough. With Green Shield, you get health coverage and care. That means you can connect with registered health professionals or check your health coverage all in one place. Prescriptions can be delivered right to your door. And with far less paperwork, reimbursements are quick and hassle-free. So call 1-833-377-7077 or go to getgreenshield.ca for health coverage and care that puts you first.
So, want fries with that?
Fries? Sure.
Not fries.
Prize! A new game from McDonald's with tons of cash prize and millions of food and rewards prize too. Just peel and play in the McD's app for your chance to win.
Dad, where does the sun go at night?
Explore any road with an extra set of eyes. The all-new, fully redesigned 2025 Subaru Forester. Trust the real search engine.
Most men will develop symptoms of BPH. To reduce these symptoms, try Super Beta Prostate. Finally, less urges to urinate. Super Beta Prostate. Find it at these fine retailers.
Bubba, I want to talk to you about sports and how crucial sports has been to CHCH over the years. When you talk about the likes of Norm Marshall, when I was growing up watching Norm Marshall, he was everywhere doing local sports. So local sports is very big here. Dick Beddoes, of course, and all the likes of the different sports people that we've had here. You've picked up the mantle on that, and your day starts way before your 6 o'clock newscast.
Right.
You're in what, noon, I guess?
Well, my day has actually recently changed with the advent, and we talk about the changing mentality of news and how we present it. Not only is it in a 6 o'clock and an 11 o'clock format, we're now doing podcasts. So it's a real relaxed opportunity to sit and talk to a subject about their careers or what they're doing. Because everything right now in a 6 o'clock or 11 o'clock newscast is condensed into 1 hour. For sports at 6 o'clock, I've got a 6-minute segment, right? Whereas, this podcast gives me an opportunity to talk for as long as we want, basically, on particular topics or over there. So I have that opportunity, and I'm really enjoying that. You get to know someone. And podcast, again, to the changing news attitudes, you can watch or listen to at any time. You don't have to run to the television at 6 or 11 o'clock as you do traditionally for our newscasts. These are on YouTube or other audio streams that you can listen to at any time. If you're taking a trip to Barrie, you can listen to an entire 45-minute presentation of what's going on. So that is half of my day. And then I prepare myself for the 6 o'clock newscast. And really, when I think about where I've been in my career and where I stand at this point, I'm kind of interesting. We talk about all this, the people we have around, and that I think is in my category. We're right in the middle. We're right in the middle between the young ones and our legacy folks here. Our old fogies here.
Why are you looking at me?
Out of respect, Alex.
Of course.
Thank you. Respect. 91 years old. Respect, right?
Yeah.
Amazing, right? And things have changed.
Yes.
Right? The mentality has changed, and the sports especially. I come from a time when I graduated, when I first started out at Sportsnet and CHCH, where if the Maple Leafs played a game, someone like Dick Beddoes or Paul Hendrick were showing the highlights for the first time the next day at 6 o'clock. Well, those highlights now are available 10 minutes later at the conclusion of the game on YouTube. The speed of how quickly things are available, even contacts. Earlier in the day, you had to have contacts because you needed to pick up the phone. You needed to talk to whoever you're going to speak to get scores and information, storylines. You needed to talk to people on your Rolodex of contacts, right? We don't even have a Rolodex anymore. You got your phone, right?
Yeah.
Now all that stuff is immediately available on the internet. I could sit in my part of the newsroom and talk to no one and get everything I need to know.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how much it's changed. And again, sports being the way it is, it's so immediate that you're almost, when I do the 6 o'clock newscast, I'm going to tell you about what's coming up tonight because I'm under the assumption you already know what happened last night.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to think how things have changed. And as I said, with Annette and I kind of seeing the transition from one side of the way things are presented to the way they are now. It's amazing. It's hard to keep up right now. But everything's changing, and as you talk about with the technology,
changing so fast.
I would always say our ability to present right now is better now than it was back then.
That's what we're going for each and every day, is to present that information. Slide over to Dwayne and talk about videotape, which is something that we used to use constantly. I mean, we started in film years ago, and film had to be developed and processed and that kind of thing. But then we went to videotape. And videotape is like what we had in our VCRs, but it was on an industrial scale where you had to operate it all upstairs in the VCR room.
The first 2-inch machine we worked, 6 feet wide, 6 feet high. It was massive. Wow. And we had 4 of those. And the reels were 1 hour. They were massive. You could barely lift them. Technology in VTR is the biggest change. We're down to an SD card now.
Yes.
That can hold 140 minutes of video.
Yeah.
The very first Leaf game I did for Leafs on 11, I worked a slow-mo disc machine. It could do slow motion, but it could only record 30 seconds of video and no audio. It just recorded over itself. Yeah. But you could do replays in slow motion. Nobody had ever seen that. It was amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
And for the carts, for Chantal was talking about, the carts would come up from the 2nd floor up to 3rd floor for me to play back into the newscast. And a lot of times things were late. And I could hear Mark Rattel's yelling down the hallway, the top story is coming, the top story is coming.
Yes.
And I'd have a machine sitting there waiting for it.
Put it in 6.
Yeah.
Put it in 6.
So I would slide it in the machine and Chantal would say, roll it, and I would roll it. I had 3 machines with 40 cassettes with all the news stories.
Right.
And it was just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, which was easy if the story was 2.5 minutes long.
Yes.
But if you had 3 30-second stories, you couldn't eject them fast enough to get them in and out.
Yes.
It was a real art form.
And you hope that the machines didn't jam.
Yeah, and if the machine didn't jam, you had engineering done, jam the tape.
Oh, yes.
The morning show was interesting because the stories are repeated. So I had to rewind each one of those every time to make sure it was cued for the next time you aired it.
Yes.
It was a real art form to do that. Poor baby.
And it's up to you to follow along and make sure that individual cassette for that particular story is played at that particular time.
You don't want him introducing a story and me running the wrong cassette.
That's right.
The other technology is when Dan used to be on the set, the box over his shoulder, nowadays it's a monitor or computer generated. It used to be slides. The art department would give me a box of slides. And if you ever run a slide projector, you had to put the slide in upside down and backwards and put it in the projector. And that's what went over his shoulder. And I found that out one day when there was a slide that said fire, but I had it the wrong way. It said, E-riff. Because I had it in the wrong way. Yeah. I learned to check all my slides after that to make sure they were right.
Or Khrushchev was upside down.
Khrushchev, or the Queen, which would be the worst if she was upside down.
And now you're out with a camera and an editor. And so what's your day like now when you come in?
I come in, I have an assignment editor, usually assigns me one of these new reporters.
Yeah.
Like Eric and I yesterday ran out to the police department for a press conference. And they want it to be live streamed. So now we have technology. I can take a little box that's this big and live stream it back to the station. In the old days, you had a satellite truck. You had to hit satellite. Satellite time being $500 an hour. Now we have this Dejero box. So I can go live anywhere there's a cell signal. It's amazing.
Nicole, when you came, you're obviously a reporter, and now transitioned to the host of a new show here on CHCH called Trending Now. Now, what has that done to news presentation for CHCH?
I think it's fascinating with the change in this show, and we really wanted to look at what people are talking about online. So with X, with YouTube, with Google, you can actually see how many people are searching specific topics that they want to know more about. So our day starts very early in the morning. We're assigning our own stories and we're doing all of the research on our own and then diving in right there. So I think that it's really taking our social media following in a different way. We're really wanting to see what our viewers, what people are super interested in. It's not all local. We do a lot of international and national stories now. And with the capability of Zoom, I mean, we're very lucky now with the technology hearing your stories. I'm like, oh my gosh, when I first started there was still tape and I was like, what is this? I was trained on SD cards. What is going on? So now we have Zoom. We can talk to people all over the world in a second. Hey, I'll send you a Zoom link. Jump on in 5 minutes and we'll chat. So
that was the pandemic that started that.
Definitely.
Nobody could go out and interview people anymore.
That's right.
Or when we did interviews, we had mic stands that were like 10 feet away. But the Zoom came along and now
Zoom came along and people have taken it to another level. They'll have lighting rigs in their houses. Like they're ready to do interviews on Zoom. So we're really taking advantage of that.
Has it also given you the opportunity to expand on different stories beside just a quick little few lines?
That's exactly it. So when I was a reporter, even a writer, I started off as like a midnight to 8 writer actually for the morning show, but our stories, VOs, would be 30 seconds or 45 seconds. Keep it tight.
Yes.
Reporter stories or VJ stories were a minute 30, including the lead. So our whole premise of the show was to dive in a little deeper. We're doing 4 5-minute package stories, sometimes 5 or 6 minute interviews as well.
Time for a quick break. Our look behind the curtains here at CHCH News will continue after a quick break.
Worship me!
All hail the new season of Crapopolis.
Cool!
It's better than anything I imagined.
The offerings are pouring in. Someone even gave me a baby.
An all-new episode of Crapopolis tonight at 9:30 on CHCH.
So, we checked your coverage, and it looks good. At TD Insurance Auto Centers, we'll handle your claim on site.
So easy. Is this a trick?
With advisors, repairs, and rentals, there's no drama here. TD. Ready for you.
Nissan is proudly celebrating 60 years in Canada. And right now, you can get great offers on select models, including our best-selling Rogue. Equipped with standard features like remote engine start, dual-zone automatic climate control, and intelligent all-wheel drive. Rogue is built for whatever Canada has to offer. Get to your local Nissan dealer and see it all for yourself. Get a Rogue S at 0.99% plus $1,000 anniversary bonus cash.
Happy Chinese New Year! Celebrate the year of the snake at Mandarin with a festive feast for you and your loved ones. Delight your taste buds with delicious dumplings like hagao, silmai, beef pot stickers, and more. Plus, indulge with traditional Chinese New Year desserts. Featured on dine-in, takeout, and delivery. Mandarin, where Chinese New Year traditions come alive with every dish.
A celebration of taste, Mandarin.
Book your celebrations of good fortune now.
I'm gonna plan your wedding.
How about June 1st?
What are you in the mood for?
Hey!
It's all here. Set the mood. It's on Prime.
For all the moments that take your breath away. Live for love with People's Jewelers.
Leadership is about priorities. And for 7 years, Doug Ford has had the wrong ones. The result? A healthcare system in crisis. People are afraid to get sick. As Premier, I'll have one priority, fixing our healthcare. We'll take the money that Ford wastes on bad deals and invest it where it matters, starting with getting you a family doctor. I'm Bonnie Crombie, the new leader of Ontario's Liberals, and I'll get more for you.
Sounds like Ojo time. Feel the fun with exclusive games you won't find anywhere else. Groovy.
Discover Nivea Luminous 630. It reduces the look of dark spots. Trust me. Canada's 2024 #1 innovation dark spot serum brand. Now for post-acne marks and age spots. Reduce the look of your dark spots. New Nivea Luminous 630. Nivea is for skin.
Leon's No Money Miracle event is on now. Pay no money down with no monthly payments and 0% interest until 2027. Plus, save up to 50% on select furniture and save up to 40% on select mattresses. On now. Visit leons.ca for details.
Now, Manisa, anchor on some newscasts and reporter. Your day as a run reporter when you come in the morning and you go, okay, now what's going on today?
I mean, normally, like when I started right when the pandemic started, like that day that it was declared, really? Like that's when I started. And I remember coming in as a writer and I looked at the screen, I saw Ford on the TV and I was like, oh my God. Yeah. I'm like, I was scared because everyone was working from home, but that was the one thing, like news doesn't work from home. Like everyone was still coming in and everyone adapted. So I only saw from the pandemic onwards of how news was. So everything that I learned, it was all thrown out the window because it was all different. It was changing. We came in, we would talk to our assignment editor. They would already have our stories ready. And then we would get going. Sometimes we would just call, we would email, and then we would go to the location. Yeah. But Zoom did, like as Nicole said, it made it 10 times easier because you were able to spend more time in the field getting your B-roll and spending time on other things. And then like rather than sometimes like when you can't get somebody in person, right? So it was nicer. It kind of connects people. And I feel like things have gotten like much easier for
than how it was for you guys, because we have more time in terms of our deadlines. Like, look at us now. Like, we're using Versatility, where we can literally upload the story 5 minutes before. I know it's not something we should do, but Chantal's like, no, Chantal
should be earlier than this.
A lot of times when it's like breaking news and something happens, like we can literally like export our story, and then you see that. I know, like, it's a relief when we see the orange flashing that our story's in, but sometimes like we're like, okay, is it in yet? And Chantal's like, no, I still can't see it, and then that's when we all panic, like 5 minutes before air or something. But it's gotten so much more easier, like visuals and everything. Like, we can look to social media, but the one thing that's a little like harder is verifying those things, right? Because like you have to like cross-check, you have to make sure that it's real. Like, that's one thing that's a little bit stressful. I know for a fact that that's for trending now and everything. That's
artificial intelligence.
Yeah, like you just have to be a little bit more careful with what you're putting out there. You have to make sure that it's for sure verified, right? But other than that, like, I feel like things have gotten easier. I mean, like, I could hold the camera and like do streeters at the same time and talk to people. During the pandemic, it was hard because we had to like maintain 6 feet, and people would run away from us because they were a little bit scared. So, but yeah, like, and then sometimes you had to set up the camera. Like, that was one thing that was a really funny story. I set up the camera, I put the stick out, and then the wind blew, and then my camera fell. So that was really scary, but the camera was okay.
Yeah. It's okay. All right. Now, Eric, I know as being a video journalist and a reporter, you come in every day on your shift. It's the same thing, but you don't know exactly what you're going to be covering, I think, from day to day. So it's totally new, even though it's the same as what you do.
Yeah, it's brand new every single day. But like, I mean, hearing about the news gathering back in the day, you know, you had so many people involved. But as you mentioned, setting up your camera by yourself, holding the camera by yourself, and I had Dwayne yesterday. Thank goodness, because having a camera guy is like amazing as a video journalist, because most of the time I'm just doing it by myself.
Keep saying that out loud. I like my job.
Yeah. Having a camera guy is great. But being a video journalist, you have to do it all by yourself. Coming in the morning too, just talking about how it's just so different with social media. Like, I'm not just like, you know, calling up one person who can hopefully get me in contact with somebody. I'm sending 20 emails. I'm sending 20 Instagram messages, 20 X messages, 20 Facebook messages. Like, you're just putting kind of like so that you can't fail, right? The news gathering is just so much more available to us. But obviously, social media makes it so that we have to be a little bit more careful with how we're going about it and what we're grabbing off of it. So it's a lot more verification now. But yeah, coming in every day and just don't know what you're doing until the moment I walk in the door.
Yeah, and then you finish the day having done that story, and it's like, yes, I made it to air.
Exactly. Yeah.
Emily, let's talk about you started as a writer, I know, and then you became our overnight morning live reporter, and now you're even doing anchoring. What's a regular day like for you?
There is no regular day.
I suppose is good.
It is. I really like being able to do something different all the time and try out all these different skills. But there was one week, I think a month or two ago, where I had a different shift every single day. So it really is all over the place. I started as a writer in 2019, and then I left to do one more year of school, came back and was trained as a video journalist. And then from there was the overnight. I was in Simone's position as the morning live reporter. After that, I think it was actually only September or so that I swapped out of that. It feels like it was so long ago, but it really wasn't too far. Both Nanisa and I anchor the 11 p.m. news, and then I also fill in as an anchor for Morning Live, for Trending Now, for the 6th for the weekend. And I produce as well. So literally every day is something something different. Yeah. But I think to the point of video journalism and how that's changed from reporting, people are always surprised when it's me alone showing up to an interview to talk to someone. They're like, "Where's your team?" I'm like, no, it's just me carrying all the gear. You're setting it up. You're gathering interviews, B-rolls. You're standing up on your own. You are the one who are contacting all your sources to begin with, and then you're editing it yourself also, and you're driving yourself. Oh my goodness, that's one thing. People are always shocked that you drive yourself. So
request me anytime.
I do constantly. I really do. But yeah, you can spend an hour or 2 hours of your day just driving, which takes up so much of your time. So I'm often a live reporter when I am reporting. So I'll come back, I'll edit, and then I'm running to my scene, or frequently I request the micro truck to come to me wherever I am so I can edit out in the field, send it back, hope the technology works, and most of the time it does. And then you're doing some sort of live news usually. So either you're throwing to a pack and then doing an out, or the entire hit is live because things are changing as you go. And we'll do a second hit now in the 6 p.m. as well. So if something's changed throughout even just that half hour, you get an extra clip, new information comes out, you're able to update it. And that's 6:30. Every day's different.
It is. And that, as we said, that can be good.
Yeah.
Every day for you, Simone. You're probably our most recent news reporter here at the station. You're our overnight reporter now. You report for the morning show. What's your day like? Is it different every day for you as well?
It's different every day in terms of the stories that we tell, but in terms of like the skills that we use, that's always constant. So in the morning, you're checking pages on social media, whether it's Facebook or X or anything like that, just trying to see what is going on. Typically it's, fire, or it might be police, that kind of stuff. But at the same time, because it's so accessible, you're almost hoping that you're going to see something important, and then you end up only having like half an hour or so to find your story and then confirm it with your producer. And then from there, it's just go, 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 trying to find all your videos, write your scripts, and then getting to the scene so that you're there in time for all of the segments. But I think how things have changed from now compared to back then, I guess, people have to pick up the phone, call staff sergeants, which we still do, but it's definitely more reliant on what's happening on social media and what people are seeing there, and that's usually what I use.
And I suppose you can be coming in a day and it could be a very serious story, a big story, or it could be something that's very light and lots of fun.
Yeah, it really varies. I mean, sometimes because of how early we get here, I'm usually the first one who might be on scene if something's developing overnight. I'm usually the first one that heads there, and we know nothing. We're trying to gather all the information that I possibly can, talk to witnesses, get a hold of police, get a hold of the fire department, while also trying to meet your 6 deadlines that you have to do throughout the morning. It's exciting, it's fun, it makes, those 3 hours go by so fast. And then, you'll have like a fun Friday story where you're at the waterfront, or, you're petting dogs on, in Burlington. So it's always a good day.
Your stories can change. Like, I remember one day you had 4 different stories.
Yes, yeah, I was in, the truck, we were talking about snow, and then the snow melted, and then we were back in the studio talking about measles, and it just, one thing to the other, and you just have to roll with the punches. You just grab a script and research really quick, try to put something together in like a minute, and then, you just get ready to present. So it's always going.
Our 70th anniversary media panel will continue right after this.
Before you vote, make an informed decision. The party leaders will debate the issues that matter most to Ontario voters. Watch the Leaders Debate on CHCH, February 17th at 6:30 p.m. CHCH, your home, your vote.
With Lotto 649's 2 jackpots, what possible could you find? Play the growing gold ball jackpot, plus the classic jackpot of $5 million.
This is not a regular chicken sandwich. It's a spicy seasoned chicken sandwich. It just looks like a regular chicken sandwich. Ba-da-ba-ba.
At Sleep Country, we know that for every reason that keeps us awake, there are hundreds more that make us dream. That's why we're offering 25% off, because great sleep fuels tomorrow's dreams. Sleep well, Canada.
What's the mission?
To stop what's in the gorge from coming out. The gorge is the door to hell, and we're standing guard at the gate.
No!
It used to be me, she ate at snack time, but now she loves Yogo. Made with real fruit, smooth, creamy, and tasty. All I can say is whoa.
Yogo, snack it up.
Tap into slots with over 1,000 games and new ones added daily. Tap into slots. Tap into Botano. Botano, the game starts now.
This is JTV. This is JTV, and this is JTV. Shop JTV Jewelry Television and JTV.com for amazing jewelry looks at unbelievable prices. Every style, every color, everything you love about jewelry. This is JTV.
When I started in 1985 doing the weather, you walk into the newsroom and it was you were clearing the smoke, and you heard the clack, 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 clack of the typewriters still going. I want to talk about the makeup, the overall surroundings of the newsroom, and how it has changed throughout the years. Connie, Annette, you arrived 70s, 80s. There was still smoking going on.
Yeah, in the old house even.
Oh, nicotine-stained prison.
Oh, well, all the typewriters had ashes sprinkled through the keyboard.
Yeah.
And they used film cans as ashtrays. So they just, you know, put a little dent in each side and voila, an
That was
ashtray.
to allow the ashes to spill out.
Yes, I'm sure. And you'd be coughing and choking. And Karen Steele, who's one of the early production assistants that worked with all of us, she and I said, one day we're going to ban smoking in the newsroom.
And it happened.
And
I remember coming in one weekend with Karen when they decided to paint the newsroom.
Yeah.
So we cleaned all of these, like all the plastic, like
it was so disgusting.
File holders and everything. We had to clean them off, like with Comet, to get the nicotine stains off of them. And then afterwards,
The good old days.
We were smoke-free, but we still had a smoking room.
Oh, that
right
closet.
on. It was a
Oh, that
closet,
was
basically,
disgusting.
right on the second floor.
And somebody would call for someone, and you'd have to
And you'd have to
open
go in
the
there.
door
Like,
and
I
go,
don't want to go in there.
phone. Yes.
That was the
So-
worst idea ever created.
But we won. We won. Finally, we won.
I think it was most days typing away
yes.
on his typewriter.
Legendary writer.
Yes, with a cigarette cocked up in his mouth, blinking from the smoke and getting that copy done. One finger typing.
That was Mo.
Yeah, that was Mo.
That guy wrote Liquid Gold.
He was legendary.
He was just a fabulous writer.
He covered all the big trials, and he was a mentor because I covered a lot of trials in my time, and Mo was the go-to in those early days.
Yeah,
And,
he was the union reporter for a long time too.
he wore the trench coat. He
Yeah,
was just
the
that
whole 9 yards.
typical
Yeah.
old-fashioned reporter, right?
Now, speaking of males in the newsroom, it was pretty much male-dominated when you joined
Yes,
in the mid-70s.
there were 2 women, myself, Joanne and Garcia, and it was all men on camera,
Was
all
Kathy
men.
not there then?
Nope, Kathy Renwald
she came a little
started
later, yeah.
several years after me.
Yeah.
She was the first female to ever go into a sports locker room. Like, she made history as a sports reporter. But no, it was, a very different time. And it was myself, Joanne Garcia, Susan Prestige was on air at CHCH before me. And I thought, oh, wow, will I ever get on air like her? There were the Betty Kennedys of the world, Barbara Frums, and I interviewed Betty Kennedy when I was a Good News reporter way back on CFRB. But they were very few bright beacon lights for women back then. That was it. And so I was very fortunate to land the job at CHCH when I did.
And Annette, you came about 10 years after. How had it
by
changed?
that time, things were more evened out.
Yes.
Was it?
It was getting better.
Yeah, it was getting better, but still.
Yes. Yeah. And how would you class it now?
There are way more women in our newsroom than men.
Way more women now.
Yes.
And what do you think about the attitude that men might have had toward the women coming into their domain at the time? Was that problematic?
It never was for me.
No?
Not really.
Okay.
Dad was very welcoming when I joined the anchor desk.
It never bothered me. As a matter of fact, I was a little surprised it didn't happen sooner.
Yeah.
That's what surprises me
Yeah.
the most. But when the women came on, the attitude got it changed a little bit. There wasn't as much swearing. There wasn't as much throwing of typewriters and ashtrays. I'm serious. This is true.
You know, Brian, I taught journalism. I still do for a number of years. When I started at Mohawk, there were 5 women in a class of 100. So you can just see how much it's changed.
I think things have really changed even in my 10 years of being here, because when I first started, I mean, I was taught you do not swear, young lady. That was my dad, right? But we come into a newsroom, I'm like, what is this place? I learned new words very, very fast.
Yeah. First thing you have to learn is always assume the mic is on. Always assume it's on.
Yeah, no, I think things have changed actually drastically. Even when I first started, I was begging to get on air. Like, please, 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 can I have a shot? Just give me one shot. But it was like every new guy that was being hired was given a shot pretty quickly. So I waited a little bit longer. But things change. You prove yourself, you do it, and you keep getting opportunities. And I have to say, it is amazing to see all of the women that have been hired in my 10 years being here.
Excellent.
The whole women's liberation movement, you know, was really kicking into high gear throughout the 70s and 80s. So there was a bit of a wave that was starting where women were making demands and people were starting to listen. And I think that's when it all began.
Yeah, and washed right over us.
Too bad.
I'm saying that's probably a good thing.
It took a while, but
I think men have had enough of a chance running the world and screwing it up to the degree that they do. That maybe it's time for women to give it a shot. They can certainly do no worse.
We touched on technology an awful lot. We've talked about how we started in film, and these are the days before cell phones. And when you went out on a reporting job, I know, Annette, we've talked about this. You went out on a reporting job to Hagersville Fire.
I was a very young reporter then, and it was kind of like we had these meetings, and it was like, yeah, our assignment editor said, you know what, there's this fire. It started last night in Hagersville. It's probably out, but will you go check it out? So I went with a camera guy, one of our legendary camera guys, Bill Duncan, and we went out in the car. And we didn't have cell phones. We had these two-way radios in our cars that were in contact with the newsroom. And we got out there, and it was Hagersville tire fight. It was huge. And it was the first time I'd ever seen Bill Duncan excited about a story.
Really?
He was so excited.
That didn't happen.
He was so excited about it.
You can see it for miles. A black, billowing cloud is looming over Hagersville and the surrounding area as millions of discarded tires continue to burn.
But I couldn't, and we were out of radio range, so I couldn't radio into the newsroom to say, okay, this is huge. I had to go to somebody's house to say, can I use your phone? I have to call long distance at that point to Hamilton and let them know, like, this is really, really big. So I was there the first day.
And it was really big. Dan and Connie, you must have covered the Hagersville fire. That was a huge story.
Yes,
and the stories kept on over years and years and years as the impact on the health of the firefighters.
It burned for 18 days.
Yeah, people living in the area. Probably to this day, there's still a lot of implications and ramifications from that.
A lot of safety measures
I was up
put
at
in
the fire
place.
as well, Brian. I went up to the fire with Tony Fairchild. And at that time, it was the day after the fire started, so we decided that we were going to go up and just do a live hit from there and then come back. But as it turned out, Tony got a little lead from a fireman where the owner of the property was. So Tony and I took off down to the motel where he was supposed to be and knocked on the door. Lo and behold, there he was. But he was not talking. And there was no way we could convince him to say anything. Like, I don't know, nothing. Just slammed the door right in our face.
Yes. Well, we're going to stop right there. We hope you enjoyed part 1 of the media panel, but we're not done yet. Watch for part 2 of our media panel right here on CHCH or online at chch.com. We want to remind you that you can catch the latest news Monday to Friday at 6 a.m. with CHCH Morning Live, and 7 days of the week with the evening news at 6. Goodbye.